Once again, this is Nuance, and I am Mike Scala, joined as always by Jay Carter, also known as Timid, the hip hop artist in the chair of BLM Tokyo. What's going on, Jay?
Oh man, just starting off the day.
I should say top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to you, or actually more appropriately, Ohio gozaimasu.
Oh, I gotta learn that. Ohio gozaimasu.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Ohio
Gozaimasu.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Gozaimasu. It doesn't have to be too high, but there's there's an E in there.
Gozaimasu.
Mas.
Ohio gozaimasu.
Yep. That's
See, the
pretty
beginning
good.
and the end of that is easy for me. Ohio, like the state, right?
Right.
And ends mas, like more in Spanish.
Right.
Just the thing in the middle is kind of foreign to me.
The thing with Japanese pronunciation, actually, it's not as difficult. In
It's
general,
like the vowels are like Spanish, right? The same a, e, o, u.
That's it. Yeah, everything is pronounced off of those vowels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Ohio gozaimasu.
Yeah, everything is pronounced off of those vowels.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
We're getting the echo because I was trying to.
Yeah, everything is pronounced.
Wow.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Come on now.
Last week it was double me. Now it's double you.
Yeah, right. We're getting these DJ Clue echoes. Anyway, while I work this out, we were also joined by Sheba Abraham, Sheba, y'all, from the League of Women Voters. What's going on, Sheba?
Oh, gearing up here for the mayoral race in Poughkeepsie. So it's going to be interesting to see who wins, and hopefully we're hoping Yvonne Flowers win, who will be the first first women mayor.
Now, she won the Democratic primary?
Yes, she won the Democratic primary, and she will be the first Democrat, I should say, the first Democrat, first Black, and first woman mayor in the city of Poughkeepsie.
Wait. She would be the first Democrat, or just all three of those?
All three of them, from what I understand.
So they've had Democratic mayors before?
Yes.
Okay.
But she'd be the first Black Democrat.
First Black Democratic.
Right.
So is there a Black Republican mayor before?
No, not that I know
Okay.
of.
So she'd just be the first Black mayor.
Right.
Yeah, okay. And was there ever a female mayor? She would also be the first woman, or just the first Black woman?
She would be the first Black woman. I don't know if there was ever a first woman.
Okay.
Because I know I went to City Hall in Poughkeepsie and I didn't see any women pictures. I just saw no pictures of women being mayors, but I did see a lot of men.
Sure. Okay. All right.
She's breaking a lot of ground. It sounds like if she wins, she's gonna be hitting a lot of firsts.
Now, I didn't realize Poughkeepsie would be that competitive. Is there a chance the Republican could win, or is it a safe Democratic seat?
There's a chance a Republican could win. A Republican had the position before.
Okay.
Yeah, Mayor Ralston was a Republican.
And that's the outgoing mayor now.
Well, what happened was he ran for Senate.
Mm-hmm.
The senator, so he's a senator in the state.
Right.
And hit the administrator, the city administrator filled out his position.
Right. The rest of his term.
Right, his term. And he's a Democrat because he was a part of the Democrat primary. So
they replaced a Republican with a Democrat?
I think he is. I think he was at the Democratic primary. He was running in the Democratic primary. So he would be a Democrat, correct? If he was running in the primary. So yes, they replaced him with yes.
Right. Unless he was a Republican who had a Wilson Pakula, they call that, whether they were the Democratic Party would give him. But that's rare to see it work. Sometimes you see that go the other way.
Right.
But, okay. So that's interesting. So why was he the acting mayor? Was it because the people who put him in were Democrats?
That I don't know. I didn't research that, but I know
it's a little unusual for the outgoing mayor as a Republican to be replaced by a Democrat, unless just the people who were in charge of the appointment process were Democrats.
Right, and that's a strong possibility.
Okay. Well, very interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Now, you moderated the mayoral debate in the primary in Poughkeepsie?
Yeah, the Democratic.
Democratic primary.
Right.
Okay.
primary.
Okay. All right, so that'll be in November. I guess stay tuned
Yes.
to see who emerges victorious there in Poughkeepsie. Well,
It should be a SmackDown event.
a SmackDown event.
Yeah, all elections should be a SmackDown events.
Speaking of getting smacked down, I suppose. I don't know. I don't know if that's the right segue there, but I did want to mention that I enjoyed my first spa experience over the weekend.
Oh, wait, that could be taken a couple of different ways.
No, I mean it in the most appropriate of ways. I was trying to draw a comparison, I guess, to being massaged, maybe a rub down. I don't know what you would call that. It wasn't quite a massage, but it was a nice spa treatment.
Oh.
Yeah, you mentioned that. So at first when you mentioned you were going to do it, you didn't have an idea of like what it all entailed. So
Right.
what services did you get?
I still don't know. No. I mean, I know, but I don't know because I'm not an expert in spas. So they use all these fancy flowery words to make it sound beautiful, and it is beautiful, right? But when you start getting into the technical aspects of it, I mean, who the hell knows? I know that there was a salt scrub involved, some kind of body butter that was involved, and a facial.
A sugar scrub.
Sugar scrub, yes, that's right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And it was nice, right? Again, who knows what it does to the skin? It's supposed to make the skin radiate and glow. I don't know, but
Exfoliate.
exfoliate, all that
exfoliate,
good stuff,
yeah.
right? But it was
Mhm.
just a relaxing atmosphere to be in, right? The music was nice and calm. It had, nice ambiance all around. Everybody was very kind and gentle, and they rub the butter on, and it's nice. It's a nice, relaxing experience.
Oh.
So now I've done the sugar scrub before at home, not at a spa, but I've done the sugar scrub before. I remember I told you it was going to hurt a little bit. Did it hurt a little bit?
No, it didn't hurt. Now, why do you say it hurts?
Because it's not like soft. It's like the hard,
Right.
hard
Yeah,
sugar. So
yeah,
like
yeah,
it
so
can.
right. It kind of
it-
feels like 1,000 pebbles kind of like rubbing against your skin.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right. So depending on the person, it could be a little bit more
I
uncomfortable.
could see that if they're really like using a lot of force. I could see it. It's like like using like a very rough sponge or something like that.
But you do feel a little bit cleaner afterwards.
Right. So what's interesting, and I didn't know what was going to happen here. Right. So we did the sugar scrub, then there's the butter scrub, whatever they call it, the body butter, and then they have you go into a sauna for 5 minutes. So it's like you're cooking. So it's like you're cooking the sugar and the butter into the skin, right?
Oh.
Like they're preparing a meal. But then after that, you take a shower. And there's a nice, nice shower, nice soap scrubs. What do you call that? The dispensers that
The liquid soap.
Yeah, but liquid
Uh-huh.
soap, there's a special name for it, like where like starts with an L. I'm thinking, not lavender. You know what I'm talking about? Shiva.
Lather?
Yeah.
You're talking about lather?
Lather, yes, a nice lather.
Mhm.
So they've got that, different body washes, so you take that nice relaxing shower after you've been all cooked in the sugar and the butter, right? And then at least for this package, you went back in and you got the facial. And I did tell her that I had sensitive skin, right? And her first reaction was, oh, basically that's what they all say. But then when she was looking at my skin for the facial, she was like, okay, yeah, I do see that your skin is very sensitive. She's like, it's very clean, but I can see that it's sensitive. And she said she'll take that into account when she uses the whatever chemicals she uses for the facial. And so she did. She was very gentle, and she did a really good job on that. It didn't upset my skin or my face at all.
Good. Where was this
Yeah.
at, though? Where did you?
Yes, this was at the Rockaway Spa and Hotel. So in Rockaway, they just built a nice new hotel a couple of years ago, and a beautiful spa in there as well. In addition to restaurants, a nice rooftop bar. I mean, it's a really beautiful place. My first time at the actual spa, really at any spa, right? I've gone to the hotel and eaten there. It's a great place to go hang out, have a drink and whatnot. But I never went to the spa or any spa. I never had a spa experience before. And I'm glad that I did it. It was really nice and very relaxing. That was the thing I wasn't expecting. I knew that it was supposed to be relaxing while you were in there, while they were doing what they did, right? But when you leave, you still feel relaxed for hours. Even a day later, you still feel it. It was like a Zen. I felt like I was floating on a cloud for like 8 hours plus after I left. That part I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's why things like, you
Yeah.
know, spa treatments and massages are good health maintenance
Yeah.
activities,
Yeah, they are.
because they have long lasting effects. Did you get a massage too? Was that included, or?
No, but it was, I mean, it felt like a massage, right? Because
Right.
they were rubbing, you know, they were like basically massaging these butter, you know, the butter and the sugar into your skin. So it was like a massage. It wasn't a straight up massage, but I didn't need it. And I might not have liked it because then maybe it would have been a little too rough, right? This was very smooth and soothing.
Right, right. Yeah, there are different types. Like you've
Yeah.
got, you know, depending on the massage, some of them can be really, you know, really heavy handed. Some are more rub oriented type. Like, yeah. So it depends on what you're into. And then there's like the Japanese shiatsu style where it's more of a pressure
Yeah.
along the different points. So
There's a Swedish massage, which I guess is a little softer. I don't know.
I think that's the one with the rubbing. And then you've got things like the Thai massage where they bend you in like a pretzel and set you on fire and stuff.
Well, here's also a tip, which I didn't know until after the fact. If you book an appointment at the Rockaway Spa, you are given, I believe, an hour to use the pool at the hotel. Complimentary. And so that's pretty cool. And there are also various packages. You know, I got this, they called it the Rock and Glow package. So all these treatments included. This is like an a la carte menu. If you just want one of the things, and it's cheaper, you know, because it is on the pricey side to get a whole package. But if you just want like one thing, you can just go ahead and get that for a shorter time. But you know, whatever it is you're into, whatever your needs are, whatever you think is best for you, you know, there are options there.
Yeah. Well, that sounds good though. Sounds like you had a good time.
Yeah, highly recommended. If you know, if it's within the budget, I would say.
So are you going to be adding regular spa appointments to your regimen?
It's made me a spa guy.
Next question.
I'm a spa guy now. And from what I understand, once you become a spa guy, you can't be a non-spa guy, right? I'm a spa guy for life now because I've had a good experience. Now, if it was a bad experience, then I might be anti-spa for the rest of my life. But I started off on the right foot. So now I can't go back, because even if I went to a different spa, let's say, and got a bad experience, I still know it can be good. So I'll still seek out somewhere else. I'll go back to Rockaway, right?
You're a spa snob now.
Yeah. I'm a spa elitist.
Right. Your
like
technique is not as good.
Like our approach to hip hop, right? Like the spa's gonna have bars.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not a good quality sugar in your scrub.
yeah. Don't give me this low grade sugar. Trying to run me down, but I can't believe it's not butter. Come on. Do better.
Yeah, right.
By the way, they also offer you champagne, and it's really nice.
That's what's up. And it's good. It's good in general for like I said, for health maintenance and whatnot. So
yes. So all right, real quick, I've got some things to talk about here. September 6th, there's going to be a rally in front of City Hall for the Queen's Link. We've covered our involvement with the Queen's Link on this program pretty extensively, and the action continues. We're taking it right to the mayor and the city's doorstep at City Hall Park. And I will be the MC of this rally, happy to say. We've got a lineup that's pretty incredible, and we're still adding to it. So more names will be announced in the coming days. But we've got Public Advocate Jumaane Williams, State Senator James Sanders Jr., Assemblymember Khalil Anderson, Councilmember Selvena Brooks Powers, who is the chair of the Transportation Committee, so it's very important, Councilmember Natasha Williams, and we've got Councilmember Ariola, who is scheduled to have a statement read. We've got other groups involved, Rise, Rockaway, we've got Frank, we've got, so I can't even read this on the flyer here. I don't know what that says, transit. Let's see if we can blow this up, but we've got various groups involved. And as I said, we're adding more names to it as well. So it should be a really big event out there, Wednesday, September 6th, between 1 and 2 p.m. at City Hall Park. Let's see if I could.
That's what's up.
I was gonna do a share screen here. I'm having all these technical glitches today.
hopefully it makes some sort of an impact, or the right person, it catches their ear.
Yeah, well, we've had a lot of success with our Queens Link events. Remember, we had that big rally in Rockaway in
Right.
October, and that led to a barrage of media attention, right? You know, of course, we had New York One did the interview inside City Hall, and then we had New York Times even cover it. Of course, a lot of local papers, and I think it's really important to present our vision, not just our vision, not just the plan itself, but the support that we have, because there is a lot of support. And I think it's important to show that, look, we've got the public advocate of New York City now. And by the way, I'm proud of what I've been able to do with that, because we did an event in Ozone Park a couple months ago, an informational town hall session, and the public advocate had a staffer there who attended. I think he attended the rally as well in Rockaway. He came to Ozone Park, and he said, you know, what can the Office of the Public Advocate do to assist us? We support what you're trying to do. What can we do to be helpful? And I asked him at that event in Ozone Park if the public advocate himself could come out and speak on it and show his support publicly, right? It's great to send the staffer, but if
Right.
he himself could be directly involved, that would be very impactful. And I'm happy to say at this press conference, Jumaane Williams himself is scheduled to speak. And so that's great. That's a citywide official now speaking on Queens Link in support of it. I think that's huge progress.
So the Queens Link, Mike, is connecting, what is it connecting?
So it's the old Rockaway Beach line of the Long Island Railroad, which was deactivated in 1962, but the track is still dormant, right? Still there, and it's owned by New York City. And so it would connect South Queens to North Queens and go directly towards Midtown Manhattan. So you can get that 1-seat ride from JFK to Midtown, from the Rockaways, right? You can get up to North Queens, you know, up towards Forest Hills, Jackson Heights, even, you know, the Northwest Astoria, but importantly to Midtown, because right now, if you're trying to commute from South Queens to Midtown Manhattan, it's really difficult, right? If you're taking the subway, you would take the A train and you would go all the way through Brooklyn up to downtown Manhattan and then up towards Midtown. I mean, it's really a trek. There's really no north-south mass transit link. And that's why you have so much traffic on the Cross Bay and Woodhaven Boulevard, why you have so much traffic on the Van Wyck constantly, because these are the only ways you can really get from the south to north, and it's cutting off the entire south portion of the borough of Queens from the rest of the city. And it's costing us billions of dollars every year in economic growth, not to mention the equity issues that come with that. This is why South Queens, a major part of the reason why South Queens is cut off economically, and why there aren't opportunities there that you see in other parts of the city. Why we have subpar healthcare options is one example, right? Because the infrastructure, the transportation is not there. There's no connectivity there. And if you can restore it, that's why we call it the Queens Link, right? It's like the missing link to bring Queens into the rest of the city. You connect South Queens to North Queens to Midtown, and you open up so much economic growth and opportunity. You know, so it isn't just a matter of convenience. Some people look at it like you're fighting this huge battle just to shave a few minutes off people's commutes. No, it's to really change the city in terms of the fairness, right? Right now, South Queens and the neighborhoods in South Queens down to the Rockaways, but not just the Rockaways, you know, the entire really southern portion of the borough, they're cut off in so many ways, and it's leading to so many lost opportunities. And so it's really about correcting that injustice. And
to be fair, it's in many cases, it's much more than a few minutes off of people's travel. Much more. Was it like 30 to 45 minutes in general?
In some cases, I mean, yeah, it depends on where you're going and where you're taking it from and things, and also how exactly the plan would be implemented. But per week, we're actually looking at shaving hours off people's commutes.
Right.
So one way to look at it. Every week you'd be saving hours.
Right. So that's giving people basically parts of their lives back, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. When the Long Island Railroad line was there, I mean, we would look at old train schedules, you know, 28 minutes, I think I saw from I think it was Hamels. I think that's what it was like. But basically from parts of Rockaway to Midtown Manhattan, you're talking about 28 minutes, 34 minutes, you know, sometimes. Now it could be an hour and a half, you know.
Right. That's a big difference.
Depending on, depending on the circumstance. So yeah, it definitely is a game changer.
Well, that sounds like a good rally. Hopefully things work out really well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely got to keep this up. Should be a good event. I know some people were a little disappointed that it's a weekday afternoon in front of City Hall, and they say it's so hard to get to, which is ironically what we're rallying for, right?
Hmm.
But
Right.
you know, we did it in Rockaway. We did these events throughout the neighborhoods, and we still do, by the way. I got to shout out Miriam and the Queensland team. They're at the Forest Hills Green Market every week, and they're giving out these informational brochures everywhere. So that's all great. But this was important to do as well, I think. Take it to the steps of City Hall where our government operates, right? Show the lawmakers and the movers and the shakers at City Hall that there's substantial support for this. And it also gives people an opportunity to come out and show the support who work there, right? The city council members and the people in government. Let them see it, let them be a part of it now. And, you know, like I said, it's bringing it to the mayor's doorstep as well.
Yeah. Let them feel the pressure.
Yeah, you got to. Look, it's all you could do. You know, it's all we could do as productive citizens. We're trying to make a difference.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people get frustrated at things not happening the way they want them to or as fast as they want them to. And it is frustrating, but we have to recognize there's only so much we can do. And, you know, hopefully once we see that there are results from what we're doing, even if it's slow, even if it's not exactly when we want it, you know, you go to a rally, it's like, when do we want it? Now. But, you know, things take time, right? As long as we can keep that pressure on and know that we're doing all we can, then I think we should feel good about the work that we're doing, and, you know, try, be as happy as we can. It's never gonna be perfect, but, you know, we can only do what we can do.
Absolutely. What do you want? Spa days. When do we want them? Now.
Yeah. Yeah. The chant really should be yesterday, right? Queensland, when do we want it? Yesterday, last year, 10 years ago.
Haven't you been fighting that battle for some time? It's been a while.
50 years. Yeah.
How many years?
Well, really, since it was decommissioned in 1962, right? So, 50,
Wow.
was it 51 years? More than that, right?
Wow.
More than that.
60?
That's
I was
six.
tracking the time. It's actually 61 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You look good for 61.
Before I was born.
It's the result of the spa day. Like,
That's right.
you looked horrible before, but now
That's
you
right.
look
That's
amazing.
right. I look great for 61.
Yeah. Sugar scrubs and facials, like it's amazing.
So, speaking of by the way, I'm still, you see, and this is while we're talking about doing all we can do, I want to get this share screen up because this is bothering me. And there's always something. There's always something. Here it is, share screen. I wanted to get this flyer on the screen because, as I said, we're still working on the flyer and there will be an updated version coming out. But I wanted to shout out the groups who are already on it. And I have to actually zoom in. Hold on a second. We're going to get this right. Share. Here we go. We are sharing the screen here. Okay, so there you see the flyer. You see Rise. Can I zoom in on this? Hold on. We're gonna work this. Gonna move things out though. What is going on? I don't want to go incognito. Why is it saying I'm incognito? What is going on here? What is going on here? Okay. Trying to zoom in. Here we go. No. It's zooming on everything but the actual flyer.
What do you're
I was
trying to
zoom in on the flyer itself so I can read the name of
on
that.
the upper right hand corner.
Uh-huh.
Right, move to the left, upper
Just
right
move
hand
it.
corner of the image.
Of the image.
Right there. Move, stop to the left. Next
Oh, I see.
icon.
Yeah,
There you
okay.
go.
Okay, see, it's always simpler than you think it is. Okay, so we got RISE, Rockaway Initiative for Sustainability and Equity. This was the one I had a hard time reading. Tri-State Transportation Campaign. Okay, I actually was not even aware of this group, so someone can school me on that. And Frank, which we actually had the head of Frank here, that was Manny Silva. So that would be the Far Rockaway and Arbor Nonprofit Coalition, I believe that's called. So, like I said, just a few groups so far who lended their support to this. We are planning to add more. And there's also talk of possibly arranging some transportation to the rally, because as we know, it is difficult to get to. Is exactly what we're fighting for, right? Better transportation.
Yeah, we're on your Facebook page now.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So
So that's what's up. Speaking of the mayor, real quick, I wanted to give a shout out to Mayor Adams for his Breaking Bread Building Bonds initiative, which he's been calling with community leaders around the city. Last night, they did their latest one in Ozone Park, and I had the privilege to be invited and attend. And it was nice. It was nice, especially because you saw the diversity of Ozone Park. And in fact, you had the Muslim clergy participate as well, along with the Christian. You had Jewish people. You even had, some Hindu representation there. So you had a very diverse turnout, which really is representative of New York City and Queens, right? We call Queens the world's borough, and it's great to see that all in one room, a microcosm of the diversity on a larger scale in one room. The thing that I always say, and people may get on me, they may say I'm dissing or critiquing. I'm not. I'm just trying to figure out how to make these things better. I always find that we have these great meetings that can feel repetitive at times, because you often find the same people in the room talking about the same things. And the setup is really great. And I think it's a great look to do. And it's great to break that bread and build these bonds and make these relationships. But I always want more to happen with them. And maybe my expectations are too high. Maybe you shouldn't expect a lot to get done at the meeting. Maybe it's just about fostering those relationships and then following up. But it always seems like, people give their speeches about how great this is, and then everyone goes home. Like, no work actually being done at some of these meetings. And that will be, I think, just my way of trying to improve it in the future, because people say, we should do this again. We should keep doing things like this. But I want to make sure that we're actually getting something out of it, that if we're going to all come together, that people leave feeling like something tangible was accomplished.
Yeah, and I think it's a common criticism of any type of discussions or meetings or anything like that, is that, again, you see the same players over and over again, and two, there's nothing tangible that or at least that you don't feel like there's anything tangible. Like, I think, like you said, there is importance in having those relationships and people coming together and having that discussion between each other, because if not, everyone exists in an island, and then things start to form because there's no connection with the other ones. Some negatives or whatever start to form, mistrust, whatever it is. So there's positive there, but it could be better. You could put something on the docket and be like, okay, boom, this is something that we definitely want to accomplish this meeting.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think something like that, it might be hard to do for that particular type of meeting. I don't know. I always want, I want to feel like something tangible is together.
What is the purpose? What is the purpose of
to
them
break bread and build bonds? That's what they say.
Yeah.
It's what they say is it's nice to get people, community leaders in the same room who maybe don't interact. The thing is, most of us do interact already, right? But they say basically we're bringing people together to eat together. So this way you can kind of sit down at the table and relate to each other as people, and that will facilitate a dialogue on issues and getting things accomplished in the neighborhood and in the city. The idea is great. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like we were breaking bread saying, so here's my solution for the migrant crisis. What do you think? Like, people weren't proposing any policies or anything like that. They were just saying how great it was to be together, right?
Right. Yeah.
Fellowship is like a fellowship.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So was the mayor there?
No, he wasn't there. He was apparently planning on coming or trying to get there, but it was the opening of the US Open last night. So he was at the ceremony, and he was texting saying that he would try to make it, but he didn't make it. He had staffers there though.
Okay. But for those local leaders, having connection with the mayor's office, having some point of contact could be beneficial.
Right. Oh, sure. And that's really what it is. It's less about what gets done at that event and more so about the relationships that are fostered. And, even if it's people that you know and you've seen before, it could spark something. You run into someone and it's like, oh yeah, how you doing? Okay, yeah, we should follow up on that thing. That does happen, right? And so maybe it's a little more subtle than you want it to be, but it is effective in that way. I have the same observation about these political conferences, right? Yeah. You go and you fly to Puerto Rico every year, and it's fun. It's great. You're in Puerto Rico, but you're seeing the same people you see in New York. And it's like, what's really getting done here? But
Right.
on the positive side, you do run into people and, maybe they're in your phone book and you could have called them any day. But when you see them in Puerto Rico at this conference, sometimes it inspires something. Oh yeah, we do need to meet up. Okay,
Right.
okay, maybe next week,
Right.
give me a call. And then sometimes it
Right.
leads to something, so
Mhm.
Absolutely.
I guess it's just the way human nature is.
Or it's just, maybe it's time for a disruption in the way that things are normally being done.
Right, because it seems
Right.
repetitive.
I mean, and it's not anything new. It's something
No.
that's been
Right.
going on over and over again. People use the same playbook over and over, and maybe that's why we kind of feel like we're spinning our wheels a lot of times.
That is true. That is true. And, I think it's worthwhile to say when we do have, and not everything is going to be like this, but generally speaking, I think it is good to try to take control of a meeting. Like if you're going to be running a community meeting and you're thinking about what's on the agenda, think about what are you going to leave people feeling? Like what kind of accomplishment are you going to give people a sense of when they
Right.
leave? Like what are we going to actually try to achieve at this meeting? Because it shouldn't
Right.
just be talking in general terms about our issues and our problems and let people complain. That's great. People have to have an outlet for that. But what is being achieved? Because I think eventually people will be frustrated and start to feel like, okay, everyone just complains all the time, or we say we're doing things, but what are we really doing except meetings and meeting about the next meeting,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just my observation. I think it's always good to have something concrete on the agenda, or at least structure it so that something could be achieved. People could feel like some progress is being made,
Uh-huh.
Right.
especially because people are taking time out of their days and their very busy lives to go to these things.
Right. Absolutely.
We did get a case of Snapple. We'll bring this up here, get some Snapple out of the deal. They gave everyone a whole case, 20, I think it was 24.
24.
Yeah, 24 Snapples. So that's cool. And they give us phone chargers. I mean, it was definitely a nice event.
So that's the bread part of breaking bread is
Yeah.
Snapple. Did you have any actual bread though? Like this,
Well, it was well catered. I have to say, there was Italian food with meat, Italian food without meat for the vegetarians. Then they had halal food and they had kosher food. So they had
nice,
everyone pretty much covered there.
nice, very nice.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. As he swigs back the Snapple,
All
Uh-huh.
natural.
that's what they say.
Yeah, I find it funny. It says naturally flavored with other natural flavors. What does that mean? Naturally flavored with other natural flavor. I mean,
Sounds like some double
take
speak.
up the word other, naturally flavored with natural flavors. I mean, that's kind of funny. Why doesn't it just say naturally flavored? I don't get it.
Uh-huh.
Because it indicates something different.
Yeah.
Naturally flavored with other natural flavors. Other natural
You got
flavors.
you got
besides
natural flavor on there twice in the sentence, so it makes it sound like it's even more natural. I think I was telling you there's a guy, and I don't know if he's a marketing or graphic design guy. He has a TikTok channel, and what he does is he shows how marketing and how the words and things that are used and allowed to be used in our marketing of our packaging of our products can make something sound completely different than it is. And so like he takes things like Coca-Cola or like Twinkies and he redesigns the packaging to make it sound like it's a health food, right? So he'll add something on Twinkies and be like, oh, I don't know, for example, say gluten-free, where I mean, it probably already was gluten-free, but you put that on there, now it sounds like it's something else, right? And you change the color of the packaging to where it's not a cartoon character on there, and you add like, I don't know, whatever it's made from. It was made from corn or something, I don't know. But, something like that, and it makes the image look a little bit different. And so it shows how we're all kind of like swayed and fooled into believing some of this marketing stuff.
Speaking of marketing, real fact number 1509, because you have to have the fact in the Snapple cap, right?
Right.
An avocado is actually a large berry.
It is. It is, and
Okay.
it has been around since the days of the dinosaurs. James is in the chat is asking, what flavor of Snapple?
It's naturally flavored with all natural, other natural flavors. Raspberry tea. But the case had 3 different flavors. I think it had 8 of each. The peach one is nice too. So I guess that's how to get you to keep coming to these meetings, Sheba, right? They give you free Snapple and free things to take
Yeah,
home.
right? Yeah, sounds good to me.
But we wanted to go over our poll from last week. I think Jay's got the results.
I do have the results, and I'm a little surprised.
Yeah.
So we had the poll result. The poll question was, do you believe that migrants who arrive in the U.S. Should be eligible to work? So the little bit of context here, with all the migrants that are coming in, for example, New York had about 100,000 asylum seekers in the past year come in. There is a program that allows them to work, but it can take a very long time. It could be a minimum of 180 days, often much longer. Sorry.
Bless you.
Before they're authorized to work. And so they, with the budget crunch and the resource limitations that New York City is facing right now, there's been proposals that they allow them to work much sooner, so that can alleviate some of the outlay that's going on to help take care of the migrants. So we put this out there in the poll, and I put it up on Daily Kos, and it's a decidedly progressive website, right? So you would expect a certain result, but we got 70% yes and 30% no, which was a little surprising for me. I was expecting it to be a little bit higher on the yes side.
Right. Did the comments explain why some people were voting no?
Well, got a number of comments. I think it had to do with in the poll. I also mentioned the poll that we learned about from April that said 50% of New Yorkers don't earn enough to fill their basic needs. And I think people were looking at that, seeing that somehow this could make it worse for native New Yorkers when you're adding these extra people into the job pool, and there's more competition for jobs now. So I think that's where some of it was bringing it down.
People like saying that the most qualified person should always get the job.
People do say that, but I mean, I think we have to be fair in that assessment, and looking that when you're talking about your neighborhood, you're talking about your city where you live at, where your bills and stuff are. You're generally thinking not about competing with the person 2 states away. You're talking about competing with who's in your vicinity, but you're bringing in 100,000 new people into your vicinity. That's all of a sudden a new competition.
No, I understand that. But if you feel you're the most qualified person for the job, why are you worried someone else is going to take you? So are they afraid that the migrant is more qualified than they are?
You never know. I mean, that's just because they're migrants doesn't mean they're low skilled. They could be coming in with an incredible body of experience.
But if that's who they think they're getting, why are they afraid of them?
Because they would take their job potentially, or there'd be competition.
Yeah, the competition becomes greater.
So they don't want some people then who have this view. They don't want the best people getting the jobs. They don't. So I mean, is there a level of hypocrisy there? I guess is what I'm asking. Is there a level of hypocrisy because people, for example, they come out against affirmative action, right? And they say, well, it should be the person with the highest grades, or whoever's most qualified should always get it. But when it comes to migrants working, they don't want the most qualified person to get the job.
I think if it blocks them from getting it, sure.
So it really was all about what affects them, right? It's just
could be. It could be.
Yeah. I mean, it almost feels like, they're in favor of affirmative action if they're the ones benefiting from it.
I don't think they're saying that. I think they're looking at it from their perspective, what's going on around them, what's happening in their town, what's happening on their street. I think they're looking at it, I think they examine it closer than that. That's why the number is so high.
Yeah. And then again, I don't know if this is what the connection was, but I did notice that there was some comments in there that mentioned that stat. And some of the comments did kind of devolve from from where we were talking and went basically into NYC as an unlivable city, and talked about that, how this is really the real problem, not what we're talking about in the migrant crisis. But I'm like, that's a little bit of a digression here. We're not talking about.
When it comes to the jobs, I'm not sure I've seen people articulate that they're afraid migrants are going to take their job or beat them out for a job. I've seen people opposed to the idea, sure, but their rationale seems to be that they shouldn't be here anyway, so we shouldn't be giving them any kind of benefits or make it easy for them to stay. We should make it as hard as possible on them so they'll be forced to leave. I've never seen the argument that I'm afraid that they're going to get a job that I can't get.
Well, that's fair enough. I just noticed, I'm just saying from what I'm seeing in the comments, there was a couple of things that mentioned that particular stat.
Which stat is that? That it's hard to get a job?
No, about the 50% is having a hard time,
having a hard time getting
covering their basic needs and somehow connecting that. Now, that's not the overwhelming idea. That came up several times. Other points in here was talking about, again, making that New York is unlivable. It's too expensive. Some were saying yes. I mean, of course, we got 7% that said yes, but I just thought that the number would have been a little bit higher for a progressive site.
But not everyone on there is progressive, right?
By and large, yeah. This is it's Daily Codes has been a progressive site, so you're gonna get results and comments that lean in that direction.
I'm just wondering, of that 30% who said no, how many of them would we expect to be progressive, or are you always going to get a contrarian contingency on that site anyway?
I'm sure there's going to be some contrarians, but I would expect there's going to be a few more. So we do have to take that with a grain of salt when we're talking about the poll results from this site, that there's going to be a progressive slant.
Right. But that tells you something, right? So if it's 70-30 on a progressive site, that means that the general population, it might be closer to 50-50 or maybe even no beating the yes.
Right. It's a little bit more of a contentious issue than and that's what I found kind of interesting about it. Because again, I expected something a little bit more definitive in that regard.
Yeah.
There was someone that said, I don't know the answer. But they didn't care for the White House's recent comments that kind of washed their hands of immigration, claiming it's up to Congress.
Everyone does seem to be pointing the finger at somebody else. You saw the mayor and the governor going.
Right.
The mayor is saying the rest of the state has to share the burden, and the governor is saying, no, New York City is what it is. It's, it's got the policies in place that say that, you guys are going to take care of everyone. And so the governor is saying that the other counties will not be bearing the brunt of this. It's all on New York City, basically. And, you've got that battle happening now. There was a stat that came out that showed that 82% of New Yorkers believe that this is a serious problem. So that obviously goes beyond party line or partisan lines or ideology. 82%, right? That's a pretty big majority. Think it's a serious problem, and it is. We talked about the consent decree on here that said that New York, by law, has to take care of homeless folks who are here. And now there's an effort to modify that to as long as New York has the resources to do so, which is something else we posited on here, right, as a possibility. I don't know if that can be changed, but there's an effort to try to modify that at this point, even though that consent decree is from 1981. So it's been the law for a very long time. It is a serious situation, and it is a matter of resources, right? Resources are finite, and we are in a serious economic situation in the state and in the city, and this is not making things any better. I mean, regardless of what your policy or your politics are, I think you have to acknowledge that resources are resources, and we have, it is something serious, significant to try to deal with.
And that goes back to the jobs that, you mentioned the job, it goes back to that, what.
That's one aspect of it, right?
Yeah.
So,
right. Yeah. And I think resources is a thing that really needs to be focused on at this point. And that's what the mayor is saying. It's like, look, we are happy being the sanctuary city, but we're at our limit resource-wise right now. We just simply can't do it anymore. It doesn't matter what we proclaimed before. We've done it and we've exhausted all possibilities. So, there's really nothing more that we can do. At some point, as we talked about before, at some point, I mean, resources are just going to run out. There's just nothing more you can do. And I think, what was the quote that the mayor said? Our compassion may be limitless, but our resources are not. And that's, people might not want to hear it, but that's true. That's,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing you can do when the resources just aren't there, even if you want to.
Right. Now, I wanted to bring up this point because I made a post on Facebook a couple of days ago about how you are seeing a lot of ignorance and a lot of hateful comments, and it's really distracting from the issue because it just drives a wedge between us. We're already very polarized, right? This further drives us apart, and all of the name calling and people even going as far as spitting on folks and just being very, very, very nasty. That really gets in the way of trying to come to a sensible solution, trying to build a consensus, because it makes us more combative with each other, right? We're further dividing ourselves. And then you have people who will say, listen, I don't care if it does bankrupt. So basically it drives emotional levels up, and to the point where we can no longer be rational because now we're having an emotional argument, right? So there will be people saying, I'm not gonna give in to these terrorists, basically, right? They're being ignorant, they're being hateful, and so they're on the side of we can't handle this. I'm viscerally going to oppose that and say, we're going to bring as many people in as we can because I don't want to give in to what they're saying. Right? So we're not having a productive conversation right now because of the fact that this hate is out there and it persists, and that's a shame considering 82% of the people believe this is a problem. So this is an opportunity that we should be able to build consensus around, and we're having a hard time because of the hate. To me, that's a logical observation to make. And I gotta say, someone commented I just made that observation. I never said, by the way, and we've had extensive talks about this on here. I never said I believe that it should be unlimited, bring on 100 million people and whatever.
No one has.
Right. No. I never made that point. Well, let's not say no one. There are some people who say that the money shouldn't matter, resources shouldn't matter. We should just welcome everyone in. There are some people saying that. That's not the majority of you, certainly. But I never said that. Nonetheless, when I was making the point that we should tone down some of that rhetoric, I got a smart ass comment from somebody saying, so how many of them did you allow in your house? Like,
wow.
But is that's not a logical discussion. I mean, that's not
right. Because no one's forcing them.
I'm not saying I want unlimited migrants in my backyard or in my neighborhood. I'm saying tone down the rhetoric, stop with the name calling, and stop spitting on people. The response to that is, so how many of them would you? So in other words, you should be okay with the name calling and the spitting if you're on the side of something needs to be done about this. That means that you should just be hateful, and that's what I'm getting out of that.
Right. Yeah, and we see that a lot, right? I mean, people resort to that irrational type of response just because, like I said, emotions are so high or whatever, their own opinion and feeling of the situation is so strong that that's where people go to. And that's actually, it's a bit ironic because that's what you were calling to tone down.
Right.
So, yeah,
it's what made the environment so hostile? That's
a whole show.
Right. Yeah. What made it? Because I'm sure you've always had asylum seekers, and now
we've said this. In my opinion, a lot of what we're seeing now began with 9/11 and the response to it.
Yep.
The Bush administration.
Okay.
And Obama being
let the cat back out of the bag.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right. So that's I don't know if it's a theory or whatever it is, but something that Mike and I talked about for years. Like when that happened, remember what the tone was around the country, and it was one that it was okay to start hating someone for being different, whereas we knew people felt that way, but in the public discourse it wasn't common. It wasn't really allowed.
It was
something that would be
it was not tolerated in the 90s when I was going to school. No, I mean, it didn't matter what your politics were, and even back then, kids didn't even really get political. I'm sure they get more political now than they did back then. But it didn't matter who you were, what your background was. It wasn't tolerated in society to be outwardly hateful like that. Everyone would shun you for it. After 9/11, publicly, socially, it became tolerated in certain circles.
Right.
Yeah, this is true. It
And
did.
then once it's out, once people out, like, you take, what is it, take an inch, you get a yard. Like,
Yeah.
once it was out, it started to progress, because then it was like the fear mongering started happening, right? Remember, there was a talk about anthrax in small towns, and then it was like, then it went to immigration stuff, and then, because it was all Muslim, then immigration, and it was back to they love to hate black folks. So it was that,
And
then
don't forget the Barack Hussein Obama, right? They tried to
in the
tie
Barack Hussein Obama. Then now you got a
Islam.
black man trying to come to the country. Now gays want to get in the military, and now they want to get married, and like all of this stuff. The hate was there, and it was stuff for them to feed on and start growing, and more people became comfortable speaking in public, and it was more tolerated. Then Trump came on the scene and just capitalized on all of it. He didn't start it; he capitalized on all of it. And just
and to be fair, a lot of this is cyclical, because you saw a lot of the same type thing happening with Nixon coming out of the civil rights era.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So that's where that's, and then I think there's also something to be said about, because we see a lot of this coming from the right, a lot of this hateful type of stuff coming from the right. And I think part of it also, there's a facet in there that has to do with the disastrous nature of the Bush presidency, and how the Republican Party was in kind of shambles at the end of his presidency. Because remember, there's his last couple of years, even then they tried to distance themselves from them, because they were looking forward to the future in the next election.
Remember when John McCain was the nominee in 2008, he didn't want to be seen with Bush.
Right. And so
was the president.
Right. And so I think part of it has to do with that, because now they're trying to establish themselves a certain way with certain talk and certain rhetoric, and
it became more populist.
Right.
Nationalist.
So they could latch onto this. And then remember, the Tea Party came in using theirs, and it was splitting the party. And so there was that inner fight. And so you got rhetoric, and you got far right-wing ideology, and then you got all of that, and it just keeps growing.
Right. The Tea Party came in and really took over the Republican Party at the time, and they really kicked out more of the more traditional old school Republicans and replaced them with those populist, nationalist kind of, rhetoric turned up, right? The heat turned up, folks, and that became the party, and that really played a big role in shaping, I think, the culture. Because then when Obama was president, and you just, like Jay mentioned, you start to see some progress in certain areas, gay marriage and so forth. I think, it really intensified a lot of the fear that was out there, right? That's when people started saying, we got to take our country back. That's where the great again came from, right? That's Trump capitalized on all of that for
right.
So this has been building for some time. It just seems like
it's been bubbling. Yeah.
And it's out there now, and it's like you can't control it.
And on that point, Sheba, social media, I think, does exacerbate the issue, right? Everyone's speaking their opinion on politics, and they're behind the screen, so it's not like it used to be. There's no fear of being punched in the face by saying something crazy. So people will say whatever, right? And there are no repercussions. And I think sometimes they do it just to get a rise out of people, to troll people too. And sometimes they say things they don't even really fully mean, maybe, but they're saying they're probably laughing as they're saying it, and it's driving a further wedge between us.
Well, we've seen that, right? So I think there's 2 points with the social media. On one, with social media, it's not only what you said. I think that's all true as well. But there's also this facet. There's also this thing as social media is being social and out in the public, that anybody can access whatever you're saying. Whatever you say, there is somebody somewhere else that agrees with that, and so that makes people cluster together. You start to find your group. Even if you say the most ignorant thing, there is someone else who believes that ignorant thing. And now you've got 100 of you believing this ignorant thing. Now you've got a movement, right?
But it also incentivizes extremism, because it's easier to get that, that echo chamber going by saying the most simplistic, emotional thing, right? That's the thing that's going to drive that traffic and that engagement. If you come with a nuanced view, well, there's a little bit of this, a little bit of this, I think this, here are the stats, you're not going to get like thousands of people going rah 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 rah, so and then the algorithms push the nuanced stuff to the back, they push the extremist stuff to the front, because that's getting all the echoes.
Absolutely. Yeah, so there's definitely that point, and there is that aspect of people trolling, people doing it just for the likes and the clicks. So once go on there and say something outrageous because they know it's going to get engagement, And so
Yeah.
you're going to get like
right.
a little bit of you're going to get a, 15 seconds of fame because now you've went viral. And some
Right.
people live on that.
And that's what the clickbait stuff, right? Even like the headlines are becoming more sensationalized for that reason. You're trying to grab people's attention and you say the most outrageous thing. Then you read the article and sometimes the article contradicts what the headline said, but they don't care. They're just trying to get the views.
Right.
Yeah.
They want people to come in because that's where they get their ad revenue. So, so there's a lot involved with it, especially when social media. And then there's, a lot of misinformation because of it that makes its way into the mainstream. Just like you said, people do things to troll. And there's a lot of stuff that is like, for example, the OK symbol or whatever becoming the white power symbol now. Originally, that was a trolling post on 4chan, a message board that they did it for laughs to put it out there, and it took hold. And there's been several things like that 4chan has created to kind of troll the world, and that it got picked up in mainstream discourse. And now people are actually using it as this white power indicator symbol.
Right. And people don't even care what's true anymore as long as it serves their narrative. I've actually seen people literally say that. That sounds like satire, but no, people have posted up stuff that was not true, but was very sensationalist. Somebody would comment and say, excuse me, but what you posted is not factually true. And the response is not disputing it. The response is not, no, I think it is true. The response is, I don't care whether it's true. I find it interesting. And basically it suits my agenda. So I'm going to put it out there. People are plainly admitting that now.
No, absolutely. I've been that guy that said this is not true quite often, and I've gotten that response multiple times.
Right. I don't care if it's true. I like it.
yeah. Doesn't matter. If it's true or not. Yeah.
And that's the world we live in. This is, we find ourselves, unfortunately. So when I say tone down the rhetoric, the response I get is, well, how many of them are in your living room?
Right.
That would be known as a non sequitur and any other day, right?
Yeah.
Someone said that in the comments that they agree with it. Apparently it's happened to them as well, that they got the same ignorant comment about how they should open their home to take migrants in because they said we shouldn't be so hateful. So yeah, it's
like there's no space in between those ideas. Either you have to be a hateful prick or you have to have people living in your living room. There's nothing in between that.
Right. And I know that's what's happening now. It's either or. There's no in between anymore.
Right.
It's going to be you're going to be left or right. Nothing in between. Because
and that's
you can't voice your opinion. Well, let's look at it this way because you're shot down. Let's look at it another way.
Right.
And
it's a soundbite society we find ourselves, and you can't have an actual discussion. You have to echo sound bites.
Right. And let's be fair, that's happening on the left and the right.
It is.
There's intolerance on the left as well as on the right. And so we have to be aware of that. And then also let's be aware that people are using this idea, this fake idea of providing nuance by saying that whatever their ridiculous opinion is, oh, well, I'm just trying to look at it from a different point of view.
Right.
And they're trying to use that to kind of get in to be like, oh, look, I'm being fair and balanced. Like,
don't shoot the messenger, basically, right? They don't want the heat on them.
Well, with all of this going on in the Republican debate, and I wasn't able to see all of it. I saw some of it.
Great segue. You are running late on time. I'm glad you did that.
Right. I want to know what was there a discussion around the migrants and how it's impacting the communities, how it's impacting America?
I'll be honest, I missed probably the first half hour to hour of it. I think it was a 2+ hour show, so I didn't see the entire thing. I would imagine there was, and that they all said that it was Biden's fault.
I could. The one thing that I saw that really stuck out to me was when there was the question that usually comes at every debate about whoever the nominee is. And the question was posed to all of the people on the stage, all of the candidates, that if Donald Trump got convicted and became the Republican nominee, would they support him still? And almost everybody on the stage said they would still support him. That's if he was convicted. They'd still support him as the running for the president of the United States. That is
They
so
have no
crazy.
trust in the process. I think the entire
Right.
thing is phony.
Exactly. That's
But
what you're exactly right. They have no
but it-
trust.
that means they're comfortable with someone that's convicted, possibly running the country from a prison cell.
Because
Like,
they think that the conviction would not be warranted. They were disagreeing
Right.
with the conviction. That's what the people, and by the way, that's not what the candidates believe, I don't think. The candidates are responding to what they think the Republican base believes, right?
Right.
The candidates are making a calculation in their head that the Republican base will not vote for them if they take any other view. And I also believe that because Trump is
That's right.
dominating the polls right now, they're hoping he collapses, if not physically, politically, right?
Mhm.
Meaning maybe he can't run because of the legal issues, maybe he drops out, maybe something happens. And so they're trying to get the Trump voters to back them if he's no longer there. And so they're not
Right.
trying to say anything to piss off his voters because most of the voters are behind him still.
absolutely,
So
absolutely. They're like, you know,
they're
because if Trump
strong.
does,
Yeah.
if he does
They're
go to
strong
prison,
voters. Mhm.
yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm saying his constituents are very strong. You know, he has a huge following.
Yeah,
That he really does.
But I was pointing out something to Jay that was very interesting. If you looked at the polls in the Republican primaries, DeSantis and Trump were neck and neck. DeSantis was actually beating Trump for a minute. People forgot that up until February. In February, right before the first indictment dropped, right, on Trump, it was like 25% DeSantis, 24% Trump, but obviously a lot undecided. But they were even, dead even, basically. As soon as he started getting indicted, his numbers shot through the roof on the Republican side. Now it's like 60% Trump, 11% DeSantis. You know, it was dramatic. It was a dramatic shift as soon as he was indicted.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's I think that owes a lot of it to that, and also, but also I think, you know, DeSantis is kind of becoming a little bit of a toxic candidate in his own right.
Exposed also, and this was something that I think even Andre pointed out on here when he was on in the past, that he is really not a good politician and he doesn't have any charisma. Once you hear him open his mouth, you think, why would anyone like this guy or support this guy? It doesn't make any sense, right? Like he's not presidential material. You can just see that. He was outclassed on that debate stage by almost everyone else on the stage. And he's the governor of Florida. He's supposed to be one of the front runners.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus that I see, that everyone, even the no-name people that were running, like just outclassed him on the stage. So
I know he was rude at the you know, they had that gunman that shot up people, the white gunman in Florida. I
Jacksonville,
think it
yeah.
was Jacksonville. Jackson.
Jacksonville.
Yeah. And when he went to speak, he was booed.
Yeah. So yeah, the crowd booed him. They didn't want to, he had to cut his speech short because they were saying, like, these are your policies that caused this.
Right. That's what they're saying.
In the chat, Janet said the entire debate was a joke. All focus was on Trump. And, you know, it's kind of what Trump has done, you know, I mean, because he's a marketing guy, right? So this is kind of what Trump has done, is that even though he's not there, the talk would have been all about him. So he was basically there without having to be there.
Right. That's yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so he's done that with the media, right? Even if people are talking bad about it in the media, he's still getting those media hours.
Right. I think that's his shrewd business politics.
Yeah, I mean,
his market himself, you know, with business, that business side of him.
His whole career is marketing himself. Yeah. I mean, so you know.
So I don't know, it's a very peculiar time in history, right? Because now we're saying that he's successfully marketing himself as a man who was indicted in multiple felonies, and this is somehow helping his brand.
Apparently, because the people that his followers are eating it up. I mean, what right after this last indictment?
That's the key distinction right there. I think we have to make that point. His followers, which you know, we can admit it is sizable, especially amongst the Republican electorate. But when you start expanding that now to a general election electorate, I think the picture is going to be different.
We hope it's going to be different. Like, his followers are eating it up, but the media is also eating it up because he's getting time on every station and inches in every column. So, you know,
but people who
They may
But
not
you-
believe it, but he's the spectacle that's
remember,
bringing
general elections are contested at the margins, right? I mean, most people, they're already decided. Nothing is going to change their mind. They're going to be Democrat,
Right.
Republican.
Sure.
You've got a very small number of voters in a few swing states who decide a presidential general election, right? And so looking at those voters who tilted the scale from Trump in 16 to Biden in 20, right? How
Right.
many of those voters are going to go back to Trump, let's say if he's convicted?
Well, I think just like what you saw, like you said, in we saw in February when the first indictment came down, his numbers skyrocketed, right?
Amongst
After
the
this-
Republican base, not right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we looked though, after this last indictment came down, what was it, the very next day, like he raised like $7 million in donations.
Mhm.
Like, so it's
Mhm.
it's really spurring on the people that support him to put more effort in and turning him, I mean, he's playing it, the martyr kind of victim card. But it works for his base.
Yeah, because he's saying, you had other presidents that did certain such things. They were never convicted, but now they're getting on me.
But again, you're talking about his
the one-
base. I'm talking about the swing voters who literally swung from Trump to Biden. How many of them are going to swing back? This is not his base. These are people who are up for grabs. I guess some people maybe will because they're just anti-incumbent, right? They think that, oh, I'm still not happy. You know, maybe some people just want to keep trying something else every 4 years. You'll get that, sure.
Yeah.
But how many of them really are going to swing back to Trump if he's convicted? I mean, to me, my take on this is that his vote count will drop drastically in a general election, though it may help him win the nomination again.
I
think
think
so?
we underestimate him at our peril.
Yeah.
I don't think he should be underestimated.
No, I think he has a very, very scary good shot at winning again.
I do too. I think he can win
I
again.
has a likelihood, especially if he doesn't go to prison. If he doesn't go to prison, there's a likelihood that he
I think I would say it's theoretical, but not likely.
that he wins
And
again.
he wins the White House. I would say yes. I think it is likely he'll win the Republican nomination. Yeah, even behind bars, I think they would nominate him.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
But if he's behind bars, is he going to win a general election? I don't think so. I think you see a landslide, kind of like Reagan in '84.
Uh-huh.
Actually
no.
behind bars.
You know,
I
Mike,
know.
I would have to, I would have to really see that to believe it, because for some reason, I just think that he could win.
I think if he's behind bars,
But I'm just saying, for
Biden wins
me,
Florida. I think Biden might win Texas. Certainly Arizona again.
I don't think
What state is Trump flipping in his column if he's behind bars in a general election? What state is he winning? Tell me.
I just don't underestimate his chance.
Biden wins
uh,
Ohio in that case, right?
the depth of the bigotry and ignorance in.
But he already lost. We already
Among-
did this though. We already did this exercise. We have numbers already. So
Yeah, but remember he
Different
did
now.
win at one point as well. Like,
and he also lost by many million votes, right? Even when he won, he lost by millions of votes.
yeah, but that was a long time ago. People don't have that long of a memory. Remember, right after Bush was put out of office, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're never voting Republican again." And then at the end of Obama's term, it's like, "Oh my God, we need the Republicans to save us." Like, people have short memories when it comes to voting. They,
But
if
we're
it
talking
doesn't
about the
go
same
their way,
candidates now. If it's Biden versus Trump again, people already voted on these two candidates. Why would being behind bars make people who didn't like Trump before like him now?
I'm just saying, I'm not underestimating his chances, even if he is behind bars. I'm not underestimating his chances, because the bigotry and the ignorance runs deep in the United States. I'm not underestimating his chances.
Fair enough.
So,
Who do you think won the debate?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance I saw clips of it, so I don't know who won the debate. I know from what I read, it sounded like what's his name? It's kind of been a dark horse in this race, like as far as unknown.
not the which one?
Vivek?
Yeah, like his name kind of, I think, rose a little bit higher than it was from the debate.
Well, what was interesting is going into it, if you took Trump's name out and you polled the Republican electorate, he was actually leading DeSantis by 1 point, I think, going into it, but they were basically tied.
Yeah, and I think he's a little bit more of he's a better speaker and a little bit more charismatic than DeSantis.
A lot more charismatic, but DeSantis has negative charisma. Like I think an empty podium is more charismatic than DeSantis.
So I think, yeah, like I think his status probably raised the most from what I'm seeing as far as chatter on the internet. But
he did employ Trumpian tactics, and I think he did the best job at getting the Trump supporters to like him if Trump is not on the ballot.
Right.
Okay.
If Trump is running, they're not going to vote for him over Trump, right? But if he was
Right.
somehow out of the picture, then I think a lot more of them will go towards him, especially because Trump has spent a lot of time attacking DeSantis.
Right. You know what's kind of crazy? I really think, and this is, I don't know if it's ironic and it's kind of crazy to even say, but I think the Republican field needs someone like right now, like
Chris Christie.
no, not Chris
Oh.
Christie. Like who like Romney. And maybe even a Jeb Bush. I'm thinking someone that's a little bit more of that elder statesman that tries to come off a little bit more balanced and sane,
Or
even
reasonable.
if they're they tried, like someone to try to bring the Republican Party back a little bit closer to earth. Even if their stuff is crazy, it's not as crazy as the rest of them.
Who
Someone
was the
that's
guy
a little
last
bit
time
more,
who seemed a little bit sane? See, I forgot his name already. That's the problem. But he seemed kind of sane in the Republican fields, and some of the more moderates were backing him, and then he obviously didn't get there. Oh man,
someone currently?
it was in the year Trump. It must have been in 2016. He was in the Republican primary field. He was a governor.
Wasn't Romney?
Not Romney. No. Romney was a nominee in 12, and then he ran 2016.
Right. Because he started just speaking out a little bit more, trying to be more sane after, but he didn't jump in the ring.
Right. Now I can't think of the guy's name. See, that's bad. He was a moderate.
In the chat said John Kasich.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yep, Kasich.
Yeah, I think the Republican field is being led by too many far right people. There's nobody that's not just outright insane.
Chris Christie, well, I guess by comparison, he seems more sane. He was really more the reason on that stage. If I was a Republican primary voter, which I'm obviously not, but if I was, after watching that, I would have voted for Christie.
I think he probably the closest to someone who's not that ridiculously crazy. He's crazy, but he's not like, completely
He's New
out
Jersey
of
crazy. There's a sliding scale.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Now, given this field, would you vote for George W. Bush again if he was running? Given the field that's out there now.
You mean if he was in the primary?
Yeah, if he was, yeah.
No, I wouldn't have preferred him.
Among the rest of the people in there, I guess.
I think I would still go with Christie. Now, with that said, I would have liked to hear more on policy. You didn't really get that. You got the modern Republican Party brand, which is rhetoric, right?
Right.
Where is the substance? If they got into a more substantive debate, then maybe we would have been having a different conversation. Maybe we'd be talking about whose policy made more sense. Maybe we were crunching some numbers and doing things that people consider wonky and boring. But that's really, I think, what you want to get out of a presidential candidate, not just how they sound, what the sound bites are, or who's dissing who, right? You want to know what they're proposing to do, what their plans are.
Right. But I think,
do we even know? I mean, or is everyone basically just yelling?
But I mean, remember, that was basically how Trump campaigned his whole campaign.
Right. And that's
what we're give any kind of policy.
And now it's right. But that's what I'm saying. And now basically everyone on stage is doing what he did in 16.
Right.
Yeah, and everyone at the time was like, well, yeah, we hear you talk, but what are you actually planning on doing? And like
drain the swamp is what he said, right?
Yeah, nothing happened,
Right.
nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, what he was like saying, we're gonna like hit reset on the government and just throw everyone out and start all over from scratch.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think we have a poll to come out of this, right?
Yes, we do. All right. Well, the poll question of the week is: who do you think won the Republican presidential debate?
Okay, that should be, yeah, that'll be an interesting one. See what people have to say on that regard. So, well, I think we tried to keep it under an hour, but we did not succeed.
We failed
So,
quickly.
quickly, let's end at the end here. The last couple, I ended up with the bottom line. Mike, I think it's been a minute since you gave the bottom line. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
let's throw it to you, Mike. What is the bottom line?
The bottom line is let's turn down the heat, less rhetoric, more solution. We are more alike than we are different, but oftentimes you would never be able to see that based on the rhetoric and the way we talk to each other. And so when a poll comes out showing, for example, that 82% of New Yorkers believe the migrant crisis is a serious problem, that should be a signal that there is common ground to be found, but the rhetoric needs to be turned down. Otherwise, we'll never be able to reach a consensus and come to sensible solutions.
Excellent. That was an excellent bottom line. I think that was great.
Was.
And so, I'm sorry, go ahead, Shiva.
I said it was very good. Yes, excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. So good one. Good bottom line. And hopefully the people agree with that and take those words to heart themselves in their own discussions. You can also follow us on YouTube. Hit us up at Nuance Show, YouTube, Instagram, also Nuance Show, where the replays of these videos, this podcast, the show goes on there. Also in anywhere that podcasts are, so Spotify, Amazon, YouTube podcasts, Apple podcasts, get it, it's automatically pushed to your device. Join in the conversation, come in, say some stuff, disagree with us, you know, talk about us, whatever you want to do. Come on in and say something. So yeah, I think that's quite it there.
Well, there we go. As always, we've got work to do. Thank you for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.